why it's coming out now is we wanted to wait, to get through all of the legal proceedings, the criminal trial, and it's 4 parts, and it spans over 30 years of, pop culture, his life. So it took some time, to say the least, to put all of this together.
It's an important story, and you could just tell it with all the public material. Mm-hmm. You go further, you've gotten your hands on some extra new material people are going to see for the first time, including this video. Any journalist would want to know how you got it, but it is Sean Diddy Combs in the heat of this, right before the arrest for the trial we just discussed, in private moments, talking to his lawyer, cameras running.
He also underestimated that with every celebrity, you do have different claims, and some are completely unfounded. But I think that some of these lawsuits, there's receipts. Mm-hmm. And there's footage, and there's voice recordings. And I think that for a man, it's also very interesting, for the culture of hip hop, so many artists record themselves, and they probably, when they were, recording themselves in 2005, never saw the year 2025 and how accessible that media would be to actually make a case for things. And
50 Cent's latest Netflix documentary premiered Tuesday and immediately ignited social media, offering a hard-hitting examination of seeing Diddy Combs' rise to power and apparent unraveling. Packed with striking revelations, rare archival footage, and candid reflections from former insiders, the film moves at a relentless pace, pulling viewers into a high-stakes world once shielded from public scrutiny. An episode of Sean Combs, The Reckoning features former Bad Boy Records employees and artists revisiting the turbulent era surrounding the deaths of the Notorious Big and Tupac Shakur. Rather than presenting definitive conclusions, voices like Mark Curry, Roxanne Johnson, and co-founder Kirk Burrows share personal memories, suspicions, and commentary. Their accounts describe alleged exploitation, escalating East-West rivalry, and intense pressure within the 1990s hip-hop scene, together painting a charged portrait of an industry shaped by ambition, fear, and internal power struggles.
Hearing from Greg Kading, the detective that worked on Tupac and Biggie's case in this documentary. He is the investigator that did that proper agreement with Keefe D way back in 2008, where Keefe D alleged that Diddy tried to offer him $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. And Tupac's trial with Keefe D is coming up very soon in early 2026. And we know that Diddy's name has been dropped at least 200 times during these proceedings.
And Puff created the atmosphere for both of those guys to lose their life.
I honestly, when I look back on it, if he trusted Sean more, it would have been better. But he didn't trust him as much as the way Sean says they were best friends after he was dead. Nah, I didn't see that during the time we were working.
The documentary delivers a rapid series of explosive claims, presenting itself as one of the most aggressive examinations of seeing Diddy Combs to date. It states that he is currently held at a federal facility in New Jersey on charges linked to transportation-related offenses, while also stressing that a jury dismissed several more serious allegations, highlighting the case's legal complexity. Public scrutiny intensified in late 2023 following a high-profile civil lawsuit filed by a former partner, which triggered additional legal actions and relentless media coverage. The series shows how these accusations multiplied, driving speculation and debate across the public sphere. At the same time, it emphasizes that Diddy has consistently denied all wrongdoing, leaving audiences caught between allegations, court decisions, and lingering unanswered questions.
Combs have now sent a cease and desist letter to Netflix.
That's right. They are demanding it not release a docuseries featuring the embattled.
This documentary goes beyond recycling familiar accusations, pushing the narrative forward with fresh claims that reignite headlines and intensify public debate. The filmmakers say they secured rare, behind-the-scenes footage of seeing Diddy Combs inside a New York hotel room just days before his arrest, filmed by a videographer working with him at the time. According to the series, the clips capture discussions about next legal steps and candid reactions to a media storm closing in. Framed as raw and unscripted, these moments are presented as an intimate look at strain, uncertainty, and pressure beneath the public persona, sharply contrasting the polished image presented to audiences.
I'm waiting the whole time for Aubrey O'Day to reveal some major story that happened between her and Diddy. 3 episodes in, she's basically just talking about Diddy in a very general way. It isn't until the 4th episode that Aubrey reveals a witness walked in on Aubrey O'Day completely inebriated with Diddy doing things to her, as well as a second man who they refer to as a light-skinned, tall man. Details are very explicit and not anything I could share on here. This witness revealed that it was 100% Aubrey O'Day. It was really uncertain in watching Aubrey's reaction and kind of resharing this story whether or not she fully recollected the situation. He says it couldn't have been her choice to become inebriated because that was never her issue. She never really drank a whole ton. The earlier parts of this series, Aubrey does reveal these series of emails that she got from Diddy. They were all in very sexual nature, in a very sexual tone. He's basically asking her to come over and do certain things with him. It's these very domineering emails where he's basically setting the tone that he's the boss. She says that she felt very uncomfortable about those emails, and 6 months later, she was
It is rare for anyone to speak so openly before formal charges, since such conversations are usually shielded by strict privacy. The documentary contends that letting a videographer into the room may have exposed sensitive legal exchanges, blurring confidentiality lines. Legal representatives for Scene Diddy Comms told NBC News the footage was never approved for release and they do not know how it appeared on Netflix. They emphasized the videographer was bound by confidentiality, insisting the material was intended to remain private and calling its release a serious breach matter.
Bad boy, we had gotten over CCNY. It looked like the coast was clear. We were renegotiating with Arista. We were about to get a step up in the money. I had 25% of the company. I didn't know why he needed to get that back from me and then give it back to me again. I didn't understand that. That's like a trick. Like, okay, here, I gave it to you, now give it back, and don't worry, I'm gonna give it right back to you. I didn't want to give it up. So he came into my office one day unexpected, him and Kenny Marsalis, they had it planned out. Kenny had the briefcase with all the stock certificates in it, and Diddy had the bat. Not like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you with the bat, but he had the bat like, man, we got to do this. This has to happen. I didn't feel I was gonna get beat down in that office, in all honesty. I got people that can jump out of the shadows in a minute. I wasn't threatened by him. What I was messed up over was the fact that I started this company with you from day 0, and now the one solid thing that you told me I had, you want to take that back and do a return to me on that at this critical time that we're renegotiating and getting a step up on the contract. When he told me it was about all of that renegotiating and that I should trust, I did, begrudgingly, angry, upset. It wasn't right. I did it. He got the stock back. I went on, tried to get over that, kept doing my job, doing what I had to do, delivering everything. And once again, I was caught up in the job. I forgot all about it. And next thing you know, we had the snafu. I was fired. And he just said, oh, okay, bye. And since he had never given me the stock back, he never said that he would pay me anything or give me anything. He just avoided me all these years. Not only did he avoid me all these years, running high and low, I went on and started working with Mary, who the 3 of us started.
The series deepens its impact by elevating voices from Scene Diddy Comms' past, including former collaborators, artists, and close associates offering insider reflections on his rise and influence. Featured among them is Aubrey O'Day, an alum of making the band, who shares personal experiences that add texture to the narrative. Her perspective highlights the layered realities of working within the orbit of a dominant power broker, reinforcing the documentary's portrayal of ambition, control, and complex professional dynamics shaping the scenes behind the spotlight.
With Pac's money, Pac wanted to leave, and it could be some other shit that was going on, but they still created an atmosphere for that. You understand that East Coast, West Coast bullshit. When Suge was trying to use the New York guys to, okay man, come on, let's make some sense of this shit. And have a meeting and sit down with the New York guys and asked for a representative for Puff to come on, Puff was mad. You see now why Puff was mad. Everybody know now why Puff was mad. That he didn't want nobody to come to the meeting because Suge was playing Pay Daddy. Suge was in there playing Play Daddy with Justin. It's crazy. I said, well, how you gonna be mad at Misa and the East Coast, West Coast? And now we see why he was mad. We don't know if Suge sent Puff those pictures years ago. We don't know that. But that's why Puff didn't send a representative when Zipman was asking him, man, let me represent, just let me know. Nah, man, F that. They trying to get a black distribution company, a publishing company, all that for hip hop artists and music. Puff and Jay-Z ain't gonna have shit to do with it. And look who get rewarded behind that. So, to answer your question, I think the atmosphere that they designed and made up led to what we know was the East Coast, West Coast war. And both of them had some responsibility in that.
The series intensifies with accounts from individuals closely connected to seeing Diddy Combs' past. Singer Al B. Sure, who previously dated Kim Porter, shares what he says he personally witnessed during that period. Former bodyguard Roger Bonds also appears, describing experiences he claims revealed disturbing behavior toward Cassie, noting how his early positive view shifted over time. Broadening the narrative, Bad Boy Records co-founder Kirk Burroughs revisits his former ownership role, alleging intimidation forced him to give up his stake, triggering severe personal and professional fallout. Presented as individual recollections rather than verified findings, these stories contrast sharply with Bad Boy's success, highlighting alleged power struggles, disputes, and long-term consequences described by those who say they were left behind.
You say Suge looks over, he sees you? He looks right at you?
Yeah, he looks at me.
Okay. When he looks over at you, and then, Tupac's busy getting shot. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out
in the back seat or something.
Yeah, what do you see happening inside of their car?
I seen a bullet going Suge's head. I thought he was dead. I thought he was dead.
So Orlando across Dre?
He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window, popped. They would drove on my side, I would pop them. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the...
Burroughs later filed his own lawsuit, but it was dismissed due to time limitations, and he remains involved in separate legal battles years later. Episode 2 then shifts focus to a forceful breakdown of the infamous Bad Boy Death Row rivalry, the East Coast-West Coast clash that reshaped hip-hop forever. The series contrasts Death Row's roster, including Dr. Dre and Tupac Shakur, with Bad Boy's lineup featuring the Notorious Big, Faith Evans, 112, and Mace. Interviewees repeatedly stress that artists themselves were not the main drivers of the feud. Instead, they argue influential industry executives escalated tensions behind the scenes, keeping the rivalry alive until it exploded. Within this framing, saying Diddy Combs is frequently cited as a key force, echoing long-standing claims by Gene Deal that executives, not performers, push the conflict to dangerous extremes.
I'm not gonna go into details on that one. Keep it streets on me. I ain't gonna go into detail on that.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and read from the book.
Well, so let them buy the book then.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna read this passage. The shit was on. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat. It was the first and only time in my life that I could relate to the police command. Keep your hands where I could see them. Instead, Pac pulled out a strap, and that's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the backseat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. The first skinned Suge in the head, and I thought that mother was dead. I had heard some stories, supposedly that Suge used Tupac as a shield when the bullets started flying, but that's some bullshit. Suge was already wounded. and he was the one that got touched. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so I wouldn't get hit.
Basically, yeah.
The white Cadillac, arm came out the back seat and started letting off.
What went through your head when you saw that?
They my
2008 proper agreement, he alleged that Diddy's friend Zip Martin is the one that gave him the weapon that was used to take out Tupac. And Keefe D told the investigator Greg Kading that Zip Martin had a special compartment to keep this weapon in his car that he drove to Las Vegas. And in this documentary, we have Greg Kading confirming that Zip Martin did drive the same type of vehicle that Keefe D alleged to Las Vegas this night. And then during this documentary, we heard from the former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burroughs, who alleged during this time, Diddy had him hiring a whole bunch of people and getting cars to drive to Las Vegas. And he is now very curious into why Diddy wanted to do this. And he said, in his opinion, he now believes that Diddy was behind taking...
The documentary asserts that the record label feud spilled far beyond music, evolving into what it portrays as a dangerous, street-level conflict. It alleges rival groups became informally aligned with opposing camps connected to Bad Boy Records and Death Row Records. Within this framing, Sin Diddy Combs is placed at the center of a complex network of associations, including references to Eric Von Zip, whom Diddy once described as family to Keefe D, drawing on recorded material and analysis from former LAPD detective Greg Kading. The episode revisits Davis's account of events surrounding the 1996 Las Vegas shooting that killed Tupac Shakur. While presented as personal claims rather than proven findings, the inclusion of first-hand interviews intensifies controversy and deepens an already explosive narrative.
That after Pac got Puffy gave Zip $1 million that was supposed to be handed over, and Zip ended up keeping it. And I remember when I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was actually roommates with Zip at one point. They were that close. He actually said, yeah.
The feds said that too.
He said that actually happened. Well, the story that has circulated was that after Tupac got, Puffy allegedly gave the money.
I heard
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy will be in prison now, money for hire. So thank God. It's just a true story. I'm not saying yes or no, but if he would have gave them the money, it'd have been for hire and Puffy would be locked up.
The series escalates controversy with Keefe D alleging that Sin Diddy Combs offered money to target Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight, who was in the same vehicle during the shooting. These assertions are presented strictly as Davis's personal account, not established fact. He claims the payment never materialized because Knight survived and the money allegedly vanished with Eric Von Zip, now deceased. Framed as unverified statements, the documentary positions these remarks as another disturbing layer, intensifying scrutiny and debate while underscoring the seriousness and complexity of the allegations being revisited today.
Speaking on the situation with Biggie, how he was the one in charge of planning this London media trip for Biggie that he was supposed to be on the night that he was actually unalived. Kirk Burroughs claims Diddy is the one that canceled this trip and Biggie did not want to go out to Los Angeles. And Kirk Burroughs feels like Diddy should be responsible for what happened to Biggie. What Kirk Burroughs alleged next is what's really chilling. He said something that we have heard alleged many times, and he said that Biggie was actually leaving Bad Boy Records shortly before he passed away. Kirk Burroughs alleged that Biggie already signed the paperwork to get out from underneath Bad Boy. Then Kirk Burroughs went on to allege that after Biggie passed away, Diddy came to him and told him to change the terms in the contract that Biggie signed. And he claimed that he was so calculated that he told Kirk Burroughs to just switch out the middle pages. That way on the last page, Biggie's signature would still be there. That way Diddy could allegedly...
Burroughs alleges that Sin Diddy Combs urged the Notorious Big, born Christopher Wallace, to travel to Los Angeles to promote his album despite clear hesitation. He argues the decision placed Biggie in a dangerous environment and directly preceded his fatal 1997 shooting. Burroughs further claims Diddy later shaped a public narrative suggesting the trip was Biggie's personal choice, not the result of external pressure. Presented strictly as allegations rather than proven facts, these claims challenge long-accepted accounts and add renewed controversy to one of hip-hop's most sensitive, tragic, and enduringly debated chapters.
LA so soon, knowing that Tupac got killed 6 months earlier.
The award show season was up. We had to go out there to participate in that. We had records that were nominated. We were a budding, launching company that already launched, and we were successful. We could not go. But Biggie did have an inconvenience. He had a car accident. I think it was in Brooklyn, maybe downtown Brooklyn. He had a broken femur at that time, and he was recovering from that. Big sized person, could not really sit comfortably in a plane, not even first class, with a cast on. It was uncomfortable. He was talked into going to the LA portion of the trip so that he could be out there ahead of time. He was out in LA so there wouldn't be a big rush and bustle to get him there. So I think he was out there for a good week and a half ahead of time leading into the event. So being out there, we came to follow up and to have that night. And then he was supposed to, as per Arresta's marketing department, Arista, one of the best labels and distribution companies that you can have to back you, the legendary Clive Davis, who's backed so many artists, believed in Bad Boy so much, he put together a marketing campaign that was never seen before that campaign, and still wasn't seen, but it was put together so that Biggie could receive an international press junket in London with all press from around the world meeting him that Saturday, Sunday after the Friday award show night. He was supposed to go on an international flight with me. We have the itinerary still to this day. He was supposed to leave that early morning, go to London, and we would be out there for 2 or 3 days, and then he would go back to New York and go home. Diddy called Sean P. Diddy, whatever his name was during that time, called late Friday night, early Saturday morning, saying he's not going to London. Call Arista, cancel it. You go. You represent it. You go. He's not going. He wants to stay here in LA.
Kirk Burroughs claims Sean Diddy Combs deliberately cut the Notorious Big's security budget, knowingly leaving the rapper exposed and dangerously unprotected that night.
You have a budget for everything that you do. The budget for Big in LA for the award show ended that Friday night, Saturday morning, when a new budget started to get him from LA to London, where he would be taken care of with security, his friends, and everyone that he wanted to be with him in the style that he was accustomed to handle the press junket. When that didn't happen, that budget was never opened. The budget for LA ended, and there was a great need for security that Saturday night, and he was out without that security. The beef up. And we lost him. And in that decision, what it put us in, that decision put us in the worst situation that we could have ever been in. We lost our number one talent. We're on a West Coast where we're surrounded by enemies who told us not to be here. We really shouldn't have been there, but we were. Now we have to get out of there. At that time, I brought most of the company with me. I had a lot of interns, young people. I had to account for them with their parents. We had to get them home. That weekend, I think we had to get Sean out first. 1, 2, 3 steps in the trunk of a car, moving out the city limits to another airport on that flight out. I stayed until Sunday-ish or so, making sure all the interns, all the executives, every last one of the kids that was out there with us was back east. And then we had to make preparations for Big's family to know where he was at, for them to make preparations to bring him back home a week or so.
Kirk Burroughs goes further, claiming the relationship between Sean Diddy Combs and the Notorious Big was far less personal than publicly portrayed. He alleges they were not especially close and argues Biggie's safety was not treated as a priority, contradicting long-standing narratives of loyalty and brotherhood. Framed strictly as Burroughs' personal perspective rather than proven fact, These remarks introduce a troubling counterview that challenges the polished legacy and deepens the documentary's focus on power, image, and accountability within hip-hop.
Oh, hi, Gene. How are you?
All right, man. You know I ain't seen you since I came to your house and had that conversation with you. How you been? You all right?
I've been okay. I've been watching you on Facebook.
I'm sorry, Ms. Wallace. I'm sorry I had to do what I had to do, but you know, it is what it is.
Okay, I know you do.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Like I told people, I said if Ms. Wallace would have called me and told me to shut it down, I would have shut it down. Ms. Wallace ain't called. She knew how to get in touch with me. If Ms. Wallace didn't tell me to shut it down, I'm going to keep doing it because I respect you, Ms. Wallace.
And do what you do.
First thing I said was, Ms. Wallace, if you tell me to stop, leave Puff, stop, no, I didn't say leave Puff. If you tell me to stop doing what I'm doing, I will. She said, no, G, I watch you. You keep doing it. You doing a good job. You, man, listen here. Yo, I was happier than one of them boys at a Diddy party. I was so happy, man, it was crazy. Cause this was the first time I had talked to Miss Wallace since the last time I talked to her and was telling her about Big's death.
Adding emotional weight to the controversy, Voletta Wallace, Biggie's mother, has said in past interviews that she believes seeing Diddy comms may have been connected to circumstances surrounding her son's death. She has framed this as the belief of a grieving parent, not a legal conclusion. Her remarks brought personal gravity to the discussion, intensifying scrutiny over events that have haunted hip-hop for decades. Presented as her perspective rather than proven fact, her words deepen the complexity of the allegations and amplify the unresolved questions surrounding Biggie's legacy and those linked to it.
Getting into what happened with Biggie. And Greg Kading alleged that Diddy wasn't helpful at all in the investigation into what happened to Biggie. We saw a lot of different records being put on the screen where it said he did not want to give any more info at this time, and this was at the hospital where Biggie passed away. And I also noticed this document that flashed on the screen that was from investigator Russell Poole. And Russell Poole said that he called Miss Wallace to update her on the investigation and that she was frustrated and angry that no one had been arrested for her son's unaliving. After bringing her up to date on the case and explaining our frustration with the lack of cooperation from Puppy Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, plus Biggie's own entourage's lack of further assistance in the investigation, Miss Wallace calmed down and understood the situation. Greg Kading said in this documentary he believed that Diddy did not cooperate with Biggie's investigation because it would have led investigators back to him with Tupac's unaliving. I always remember the saying that when you solve one of their cases, you will solve the other. And that's why I honestly can't wait until...
Throughout the series, Diddy Combs has firmly rejected every accusation presented, with those denials now serving as his main defense as scrutiny grows. The documentary suggests that if even one claim gains wider acceptance, it could dismantle the carefully maintained public image he built over decades. Framed in uncertainty rather than verdicts, the situation marks a pivotal moment where reputation, legacy, and public perception hang in balance, with consequences potentially greater than any challenge he has faced before.